MSMEs are the backbone of our economy. They innovate, adapt, and power growth, often with limited resources but unlimited determination. This MSME Day, we celebrate that very spirit with our campaign, Zidd hai to Jeet hai. Zidd isn't just about stubbornness, it's about unshakable resolve. It's the fire that keeps MSMEs going despite challenges, the grit that drives them to transform limitations into opportunities, and the passion that fuels their journey from small beginnings to big successes. Today, we have with us Gautam Kapoor on the Do Big podcast for MSME Day. Now, Gautam is the co-founder as well as the COO at Shiprocket, India's leading e-commerce enablement platform that powers over 1.5 lakh digital-first businesses. They have a deep focus on simplifying logistics, fulfillment, and operations for MSMEs as well as D2C brands. Gautam has played a key role in building tech that drives scale. Today, he joins us to talk about tech, tenacity, and the Zidd behind India's growing digital commerce ecosystem. Gautam, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jagu. Thanks a lot. I'm very happy to be here.
What it is that Shiprocket does, you have so many partners, you're catering to so many retailers, digital-first retailers. What is your structure? What is your business? How is it running?
Simpler answer to this. A lot of Indian businesses, right, and largely the e-commerce space is divided into two large parts. Something we call direct to consumers, which are either brands, small businesses. It could be an individual working out of a house. It can be an MSME, irrespective. They are going and running ads or engaging with their potential customers and getting orders on their website or on a WhatsApp or an Instagram message or a Facebook message. That is one set of customers that we service. That is our customer base. Beyond that, e-commerce is when you order something from Amazon, Blinkit, Flipkart, etc. So those are the big guys, the big horizontal or the vertical category kind of guys who sell to you. A large portion of total e-commerce which happens today in India is, and we estimate it to be around 25-30%, is through these D2C MSME small individual businesses. This is what we service. When you go onto a Facebook or Instagram and look for a product which is being sold by one of these people, you land up on their website, buy something, and more than often what we would love is that people use Shiprocket as their logistics provider to be able to ship that order to you. So we are in way a technology layer sitting to help a small business. Our customer is a small business owner whose we are saying that we'll solve for the biggest problem for him is to get an order. The second biggest problem is to get the order delivered to the customer and manage everything in the middle. It impacts not just impacts his bottom line, it also impacts his top line, it impacts his customer experience.
What was the first big win? Now I'm going back a decade plus that made you feel, this might actually work.
You think you have to think about us as individuals, young entrepreneurs who are starting business, hardly have any knowledge or experience of running business. We as any business would start, right? You build a product, you go to a customer, and you start selling it to them. But what was happening is that because what we were selling was so inexpensive, and the margin that you were making on a transaction was so low that when you deployed sales teams, it was never, you were always fighting a battle to be able to acquire the money that you spent in acquiring the customer, getting the money back from the money that you spent, the CAC that you spent to get a customer. So I think something very early on, and nobody was trying it back then, by the way, it's pretty normal now, is that going and running digital ads or running SEO in that world and getting a potential MSME, SME onto your page, asking him to put his details, then automatically go through several onboarding steps and get to the transaction.
Fair. So complicated.
So this journey itself sounds complicated, and you buy. It's very very easy to say when you're buying a shirt from an online website, but when you're signing up and then paying for a service and then getting that service and a pickup happening and delivery of your and the whole logistics workflow per se starting and ending, where pickup is done and delivery is done and the customer is satisfied. we wanted to do this in a cheaper way. We wanted to do it in a low cost way. And we wanted to do it digitally across the country. Being able to do that, and with some tweaking and some grit and some patience, being able to see those first time, you spend X rupees and you're getting 5 times the users that you wanted, and those people are going through the entire journey themselves, and the shipments start flowing automatically without any individuals. That was our eye opener, and then we never looked back. We just and it was good 6 months, 1 year of patience there, but just doing this automatically. Now you have to think about it. Right now was maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago. It was very different.
I want to understand from you, how was the idea of Shiprocket born? Was it an experience? Was it a conversation? How did that even happen, or was it gradual?
I think it's gradual, and it's an interesting story in that sense, because interesting to me at least. So we when we started the company, we set out ourselves to form the Shopify of India. We thought सारा MSME मार्केट में जितना दुकान मैं गाड़ी में चल रहा हूँ, ये जितना दुकान मेरे लेफ्ट में आ रहा है, जितना मेरा दुकान राइट में आ रहा है, सब ऑनलाइन जाएगा. Everybody will go online. इनको वेबसाइट चाहिए होगा, इनको शिपिंग चाहिए होगा, इनको पेमेंट लेने का तरीका चाहिए होगा, इनको कस्टमर सपोर्ट देने का तरीका. That is where the first idea was seeded. Beyond that, we, through a journey of running the company, when we were building websites through a product called CartRocket, which was CartRocket, and CartRocket became Shiprocket. Building websites, to being able to, then we launched a product called Craftly, which was largely an open marketplace, helping customers to be able to, our businesses to list their product there and customers to discover it, very much like a marketplace, but it was very different in how the commercial model worked. We didn't charge commissions in that way, etc. So there were two instances in our life. One was when MSME when we took them online, the biggest problem that they had was that order आ गया, मैंने ऑर्डर डाल दिया, ऑर्डर आ गया है, इस ऑर्डर को डिस्पैच करने में ना, if I go to the corner India Post office or a corner courier company wala, either it's too expensive and too slow, either it's both or either it's one. So it's not working. So that is where I remember going to a Blue Dart office and sitting in this massive, 40-seater boardroom, and talking to one guy who's sitting on the extreme end of the table. ऐसे कि ये करना है, बोला कि आपको क्या पता है कि ये कैसे होगा, आप कौन होते हो बताने वाले कि ये होगा इंडिया में. So, and convincing all companies like those to be able to come and work with people who are now fighting it, getting 5 orders, 10 orders a day. That was when I understood कि यार ये जो बड़ी companies जो सर्विस करती हैं और जो एक पर्सन है जो 10 orders लेके आना, ये दूसरे में आपस में मैच नहीं है. So there's somebody who has to come in, teach both of them how to do it, and then build technology and capability to be able to do this seamlessly.
Was there ever the thought where you said, yaar, ye abhi thoda zyada ho raha hai. I have two options here. It's a very clear fork. I can either give this up and find something else to do, or I can go down this road. Did you ever arrive at that fork?
Mentally, me, my co-founder, and the other close team members that formed this company in the first few years, we've had near-death experiences of many kinds. So one is, you think like कि मेरी company मैं बंद कर देता हूँ. Then there are things that are external, जैसे कि मेरे पैसे खत्म हो गए, अब तो बंद करनी पड़ेगी. So I think I'm talking about, when I say near-death experiences, are those kinds. So I would focus, I would try and answer this question in a second way, where I think we mentally never thought of giving up. I don't want to say this just for saying it, but I'm saying, I don't know how we were built, how we are built. We have never thought कि यार ये नहीं work out होगा. It's always been, यार पैसे खत्म हो गए, अब क्या करना है? So I think that has happened with us. We have had 2 near-death experiences of our company. And the companies who are formed, by the way, Jagu, until you had those and you sailed through it. Not easily, but it's rough waters. If you have gone through it, it just makes you strong. And makes you disciplined, makes you more strong, and brings some, entails a few principles in you of not doing a few things or doing a few things.
Correct. No shortcuts, no cutting short on regulations. and getting streamlined and transparent. Invariably, those are the ones that come only from learnings. Otherwise, you're invariably trying to figure out shortcuts until you realize that there is a better way to do these things.
Also, there you will find that the biggest learning would be that there are many people advising you that you should spend money to do X, Y, Z things. But the day you spend it, there'll be no one standing with you. So you should never let your fate be determined by somebody is telling you a thing. You should be driven by your own thought and your own principles. I think that is the most important thing that I have learned. कि किसी की सुननी नहीं है, चाहे उसने पैसे दिए हैं या किसी और ने पैसे दिए हैं, आपको अपना करना है. आपको you have to worry about your company.
But let me come to one of our final segments on the podcast today. Why do we do this? We do this to arrive at a particular milestone. We do this to achieve success for ourselves, for our teams, for our customers, and just to be able to look in the mirror and say, I've done this right. If you had one or two, taking from the theme of the podcast, Zidd-worthy milestones in your career of, so we can look at the large career literally from the time you graduated or over the last 13 years while you've been in this space, as it were, where moments of grit, moments of tenacity, moments of Zidd made all the difference. What would those milestones be?
For me as an individual, I've set these milestones every 2-3 years. And I've kept changing the things that I was doing in the company, frankly. So I think that's the way I have put myself, and I've always kept my interest alive of doing something new. It was making sure that for good 5-6 years it was about getting Shiprocket for MSMEs to use it, SMEs to use it, small business to be successful. And I had a metric around it. I knew that X number of people can do this. I knew that a large Y number of success metric was, okay, how many people will transact? What will be the total number of transactions? So I would form an image of that, which is largely a goal for 3-4 years. I think typically one should always have a 3 to 5 year goal. If you always have a 1 year goal or a 6 month goal, it never helps. You always do that. That is your implementation. But you need to have that 3 to 5 year goal. So in running, being a part of the company or earlier also, I've always had these goals in my mind. These were softer, not formed into Excel files. They were largely emotional goals. ये मैं इसको change कर दूंगा, right? ये ऐसे होता है, इसको मैं change कर दूंगा. So when I get to that, it takes you 6 months to get to that also, by the way. And you keep changing it, tweaking it also. But then those goals, 5 years, that is how I would divide my career into and say, yeah, 3 to 5 years के goals है मेरे पास हमेशा. So right now it is making sure that I just explain to you कि जो local shop है वो आप उसको discover करिए online, आप उससे WhatsApp या chat करिए, वो आपके पास 10-15 मिनट में delivery हो जाएगी. आप उसको online payment करिए, आपको अगर Blinkit पे 15 चीज दिख रही है एक item का, वो आपको 150 दिखाएगा, ज्यादा अच्छी option दिखाएगा, better price पे आपको देगा. वो MSME है, वो कर लेगा. That is my target now. So again, that is how I formed these, and grit has always been there for a first principle. And then it percolates throughout the teams, and then you make sure that you're able to get to your goal.
Tell me something. How has your experience over the last decade plus changed you as a person? How is the tenacity that you brought to the table, the Zidd that you brought to the table, the मुझे ये करके दिखाना है that you brought to the table, how has that changed you inside?
I would not call myself more Ziddi now, but I think the Zidd with your maturity keeps finding the right equilibrium. I think that is where I would have changed myself as to being able to, what does पहले Zidd सिर्फ Zidd होता था, right? You could articulate it better. You could put that in an Excel file, and you can have 5 more people drive that for you also. With this, and keeping the will and the impact very, very same, or better actually, if you have the right people to working with you. So I think that is what I've learned. That okay, Zidd hai, but uske baad usko, how do you make sure that more people are able to do that? how can you put that in a more mature and followable plan? How can you make sure that if there's more, how can you do it patiently? How can you be more diligent with it and not run through steam very quickly? So
Fair.
I think that's good.
Gautam, I want to end this by asking you a two-part question. It could be the same answer, it could be two different answers. And I'm hoping it will be two different answers. What is the one thing when you were starting out that you wished somebody had told you about, had advised you about? And in the current scheme of things, now that we look at it a decade or two even down the line, somebody, a founder, somebody who's just starting out in the thick of the struggle but holding on, what would you advise him or her?
I think there are different answers to both the questions.
Sure.
Question, I think one was how if somebody could tell me, that's a difficult thing to be trained upon or somebody to just explain to you, is how to build good organization structures, how to become, how you make sure that the culture remains, how do you make sure you hire the right people. So it was largely around, because when you're yourself a kid, right, and you're just learning, being able to hire and then graduating through the process when the company is becoming bigger. I think those are the most important things somebody should learn. Somebody would kept teaching me, and I would have not gone wrong with that bit in my life. That is one. For somebody who's starting up myself now, I think from my experience is that it takes time and it takes a lot of will. So, and if you look at historically, good companies are formed mostly after very less companies are formed in less than a decade. It takes about a decade for a form a good company. Most of the entrepreneurs, startups, etc., run out of steam before that. They have to plan. I'm not saying that it will take that you should think about success in a decade, but the real meaning of what your company was formed for and what it is delivering. Takes about, good companies are formed after 10 years, who stay for 10 years, right? And this is something that Pinder also said, and I picked up from there. And then I realized that it's a company that I have every decade. So it's taken. It takes about that much time, and most of people don't know about these companies because for the first 4-5 years they're not known to the to masses.
Sure, that's actually what you're saying is incredibly enlightening. In this day and age of short attention spans and even the desire to get something done quickly, and even a postgrad education can take 4 or 5 years. To now attune yourself to this is going to be a long run game, and it's going to take 10 years for you to actually show something that you're worthy of, that you believe is worthy of showing. That it takes a decade is an interesting perspective to have. I'm glad you said that. There are some things that just work out over the long term.
I think it's about having a company that will always stay, or at least will stay for 100 years or 50 years, right? For being able to create that. A lot of people can get success in 3 years, 5 years, 4 years, 2 years. That is possible. We have had our parts of that also, but forming a good company that where it's formed its modes, it has formed a great team, which has formed a way of maintaining revenue, maintaining margins, and keep growing on a moat that they have built, is going to take that much time.
Fair enough. No, I completely appreciate that. On that advisory note, on that optimistic note, on that perspective, Gautam, thank you so much for doing this with us, taking out the time, telling us all that you have, and you've left us more knowledgeable than we were even an hour ago. So thank you so much for that. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Jagu. Thanks for making this conversation so interesting. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.